Well, Loom just crashed out on me there. Okay, we're back. Okay, so go to Chrome Web Store and type down Automa. Now, I've already got it downloaded or installed, so I won't be able to do it. But if you click on this, you'll see this tab pop up. And now you have Automa. If we have Automa, we want to go back over to this folder and we want to download this file. So if we click it, it should prompt up here, do you want to add this workflow to Automa? So we'll put OK. It bugs out a bit, but yeah, installed. There you go. Okay, perfect. So now we've got that installed. We want to go over to this Airtable and open that up as well. Right. So right now, I'm just going to show you how this Airtable works. So don't worry about all of these extra steps here. You'll see coming in later videos where these play into it. But right now, the only two ones we want to focus on is qualified leads from models and scheduled runtime. So qualified lead from models is all we really need is the username. So what this Airtable here is for is all of the qualified usernames will get pulled from here, go to the bot to follow them, and we can see that the status is here. If we've already followed them or there's an error of the bot, it will mark as error. Otherwise, it's marked as done. And if it hasn't been done yet, it'll be marked as to do. And there's some filters here, so we can change it like that. Then there's also the scheduled runtime. This bit is really important. So essentially, the big hoo-ha about why people pay for these softwares is that Instagram's algorithm's quite on banning accounts for automated activity. This scheduling system I've put together actually will pretty much 85% of the time bypass those over a long period of runtimes. So essentially what it does is the runtime here, you can see how many people it will follow per run, so it's all randomized. And then the runtime is what time it's been scheduled to run. So here it's around every hour or so for 15 hours a day. And if it says status to do, it means that that time is in the past, which means it's set to run. So as you can see, there's a lot of to-dos here. So before you actually run the automation, you want to clear all these out and just put done on them, and you'll see the action go. But we don't need to worry about that right now. But right now, I'm just going to give you a demo so you see how it actually functions. Go through a quick demo on how this automation runs on Instagram. So we'll just test run it once. But there is a setting on the automation where you can schedule run it so it runs automatically on a browser, but this is just a test run. So here it will put in the user we're trying to find, and it will follow that account. If it's a public account, it will go through a couple of their posts on random, it will like a couple, then it will go back to the home page. And this way of staying on one browser is a good way of making sure that Instagram doesn't suspect that it's a bot doing this activity. This way you can get a lot longer runtime without any actionable bans from Instagram. And just, okay, cool. So I'm just going to let this time out here, and then I'm going to walk you through the automation. Now we're on Automa, we want to go over to import workflow. And the automation we downloaded, the JSON file, we just want to import it on here. And now we can have a look at it. Now, don't get too crazied out. It's not as complicated as it seems. I've actually simplified it quite a bit. So to break it down, it starts off over here. By the way, to input all of the data, so look, there's insert data bits here. So we put the API key here. We'll put this scheduled URL data here, and I'll show you how to get to that. And then the other insert data part is here. So we've got to fill in these. But once we fill in those, your Automa automation is completely customized to you. So essentially the way it works is it triggers and it'll collect this data. This goes to collect to see if there's any, so you might have this set to every 1 minute. And this will check to see whether there's any scheduled runtimes. If there is a scheduled runtime, it will go through see what the run number is, mark it as done, and then take you over to here. This will filter through all your usernames to find a username which you haven't actually followed yet, and it will set a random delay time. Collect the username and send done, so it changes the status to done so it doesn't reselect it in the future. Takes it over to the active tab. This is where you sort of click the search item, put in the username. This is just some logic I have to make sure that it selects the right option. And then this is where it will follow the user. If it's a public account, it will go through this logic where it will like a couple posts and then follow back up to the home page. If it's a private account, very similar, it will follow, click the private button, go to the home page, and then it will select this as that user done. And then it will go back and do another run. And as you can see on the run numbers here, it will run for a specific amount of times each time it runs. So this time will follow 5 people, then 3, then 5, then 7, and so on these dates. Right, so now that I've shown you how it works, you're probably thinking, SISO, how the fuck do I set this up for my own agency? And that's the next step of the video. So what we want to do is go over to the Airtable, and we want to just set up the Airtable right now. Okay, so I've just duplicated over the base, and now first step is we want to get our API key. So let's go over to Developers Hub. It's actually on integrations, and we go down, create new token. We're just going to call this SISO YouTube test, and we want to add all of the scopes. We don't need to, but just in case we want to add anything later into the future, it's nice to have all the functionalities. So let's just select all of these. And then when it comes to the base, I've got so many bases. Alright, so now create token. Now what we want to do with this token is we want to copy it and go over to here, and you see where it says API key. We just want to add in our API key there, and make sure you're always saving it as you go along with the Automa. Okay, next step is we want to grab these functions, right? So first is going to be the filter function. So we go done. Now we go to the developer docs. Go to the web API. And again, we want to find, here it is, find our base here. Okay, now this is the kind of techie part, so I want you to pay attention. So as you can see our 2 tables here, right? First things first, when we're dealing with this first data input here, which only deals here, you can see it's just the scheduling actions block we want to deal with. So it's just the scheduled run. So if you're, by the way, important to note, if your base is empty for whatever reason when you import it, so for example on the qualified leads, if it's empty, it's going to mess up the display on what's actually shown here. So you just put one cell in here as like a test and then refresh this document, and then all of your data will come up. So on the scheduled run test, the first thing we want to do is we want to go to list records, and we want to go to this API URL encoder. This is like how you encode the filter URL so you can pull certain things, but we just want this URL bit here. We go over here, go to the scheduler, and as you can see, it's kind of the same format. I'm just gonna copy and paste it over. Right, next thing, we want this done variable. So if I'm not mistaken, if we go to update records, oh wait, look, it also says here, by the way. Look, so the filter one is the URL encoder, and the scheduled done is the update records URL. So we want this URL, and then what we're going to do is just plop it here. Ah, it's the same one. Okay, that's the first step done. Then we want to go over to this last node here, which is handles the Instagram runs. So we want to do the same thing, except we no longer need this scheduled run table. So we want to go to make sure we're in the qualified leads table, go to list records, and do the same thing. Get the URL encoder up. Take this. Oh, right. Now this one is going to be, make sure you pay attention to what it is. See, this is the scheduled runtime folder. So this, we actually do need to go back to this. And I believe that's the update insert record. So that's literally just the one we put like previously. We're going to put that there. And then here for the last one, username done. This marks when the username's done. We want to go to the qualified leads from models table and update insert record. But look at this. So, oh no, that's fine. Okay. Lovely stuff. Okay. So now that should all be set up and test run ready to go. I'm just seeing. So essentially where these insert data pools will go into is all of the HTTP requests. So just to make it easier, I've just added them all as variables so you don't have to go through and change all of them. Now let's save it. And it should be ready to run. Okay, so if you want to test run it again, let's. Okay, there you go, it's running now. Right, an important thing I'd want to add, so I haven't actually set up this, so if you want it to run autonomously, what you need to do is click this trigger, edit trigger, see it says manually here, but what you also want to do is add in another trigger. There's all of these options, but I prefer just set it as an interval, set it to like 2.5 minutes with a 1 minute delay, and what basically that means it's going to do is every 2.5 minutes, it's going to run this block. Just this block, and if there's a runtime scheduled, then it will continue and actually do the auto following. If there's no runtime scheduled, then it will just trigger and then turn off and then trigger again in 2.5 minutes. So that's how we run it autonomously. Now I will be having a video coming out in the future about how to set this up on virtual machines and Dolphin proxy so we can actually have this running on maybe 100 different Instagram accounts at once. Alright, so before I give a sign out for the video, I just want to go over some quick automations which will be coming out as videos in the future. So we've gone over the Instagram auto following automation. Next to come, there's a Tinder swiper. There's some YouTube automations like downloading YouTube transcripts and just searching huge amounts of YouTube data. A lot more Instagram automations, so finding Instagram accounts from recommended accounts, finding hashtags, profile scrapers, post scrapers, comment scrapers, and some LinkedIn automations. But truth be told, this is just because of the things I've made which are relevant to the agency. If there's anything else you want to see built, just shoot me over in the comment section and I'll see if I can make it.